If you've clicked on this video, you've probably seen tons of aesthetic candle businesses on both Instagram and TikTok. And you may be wondering, can you actually make money from a candle business? Or is it another oversaturated side hustle that just looks good online but doesn't actually bring in the money? In this video, we're gonna break it all down. Hey, I'm Ishani. I'm the founder of a brand called Luna London, and on this channel, I'm sharing my journey into growing my business and hopefully becoming self-employed. Go ahead and click the subscribe button if this sounds interesting to you. First, let's go ahead and talk about the market. Using candles has become part of our everyday lives. They are part of self-care routines, home decor, gifting, and even part of luxury branding. The candle market is projected to reach over $10 billion in the next few years. But just because there's a demand doesn't mean it's easy money. There are so many brands out there, so competition is very stiff, and standing out is your best chance of success. Where I see so many small candle businesses not succeed is when they put out something that is very generic. So what may happen is they have lots of friends and families gathering around to support their business, like especially in the first few months, and then it kind of peters off like as time goes on, and then you see those small businesses end up closing. The key to making money from your candles isn't just about making them, it's about the branding, the marketing, and the pricing. That's really where you're going to see a difference in how you're going to be able to make money from your business. It may not happen immediately, but getting this foundation right is going to help you so much in terms of the growth path of your business. So the first thing I would look at is niching down. I kind of like have said this until I'm blue in the face in many of my videos because I'm really passionate about it. Instead of just starting out with generic candles that look like every other brand out there, how can you go and make yours different? Because that is really the key to, sticking out in a crowded market. A lot of small businesses, including myself, really underpriced my candles when I first started out, thinking that by having cheaper candles, people are more likely to buy. But this is just not true. People are more than happy to spend 20 to 40 pounds on a candle if they believe it's good quality and they like the aesthetic of it. So don't sell yourself short. You don't have to go cheap just because you're starting out to entice people. Please price yourself fairly, and we're going to go into detail of what considerations to make when you're pricing your candle. The third component that will help you really grow your business is marketing like a pro. I mentioned this tons of times, but social media is your best friend, especially as a small business. I know a lot of us want to shy away. It does take a lot of effort, but if you can get your content strategy right, it can really be like rocket fuel for your business. When you're thinking about your content strategy and selling your product, think about selling a lifestyle rather than just a product. So we spoke briefly about pricing in the previous section, but let's get into the details of it. As I mentioned, small businesses are really good at getting the costs of the raw materials together, but there's a lot of things that we're not thinking about as a bigger picture. So just for completeness, let's talk about the costs. So first of all, of course, you have your raw materials, which will include wicks, wax, fragrance oils, jars, and your packaging. The other component that you would also most likely cover as a small business and do it really well is postage and packaging and the filler material that you're going to use. But the parts where I see the biggest gaps with small businesses in terms of pricing properly is thinking about things like marketing. So the parts where I see big gaps with small businesses is with marketing. So if you're trying to expand, bigger than your friends and family group, you're going to have to invest into paid advertising, which would be like Facebook ads, Instagram ads, TikTok ads, Google ads. And to get to a position where you're actually making money from those ads actually takes quite a lot of investment. So just because you put money towards ads doesn't mean you're going to get sales straight away. It takes a bit of time for the ad algorithm to figure out who your customer is and show your product to relevant people. And to get to a position where the algorithm figures out who your customer base is, it can cost a good few thousands of pounds. And that's because there's just so much competition for people to want to use these paid advertisements. Of course, it would be really good if we could all go viral, but in reality, you can't rely on just hoping for a viral video to get you sales. You want to build consistent and reliable income rather than a lucky strike of a viral video. So when you are pricing your product, think about the cost that, you know, maybe you want to put 10% of each cost of your candle. So that is definitely one aspect to consider when you're pricing your candles. So consider how much are you planning to, you know, spend on your paid ads, and how can you put that into a product cost. Maybe 10% of the cost of your product will go towards your ad budget. Another component I don't see people really consider when they're costing their products is the retail cost, especially if you want to go into retail. If you do want to go into retail, there's a ton of costs associated with being in store. Many retailers will want 30 to 50% off the retail price when they're buying your stock. Because they're buying it in bulk, they want it at a heavily discounted rate, which makes sense. On top of that, if you want to be in retail stores, something you're going to have to consider is getting barcodes, which costs money. So of course there's the discounted rate that retailers will want, and that's fine, because most people are aware of that. But the other parts are, you know, a lot of the time big retailers will have advertising campaigns. So if there's an in-store promotion, they'll want more money off your product, and you may need to supply a certain amount of free gifts or samples. And this is really expensive, especially for a small business. It's really difficult to absorb that as a small business. And I know from speaking from personal experience, I was definitely very blindsided when I saw that, you know, if you want to be on a digital screen in store, that costs like £10,000. And you know, you don't have to do that, but it's just good to go in with that idea, and you know, thinking about how you're going to grow your business and thinking about all of these components from the beginning. You know, you can like really be a bit more aware. The other part I don't see people maybe consider as much is the business costs that you need to consider. So for example, website hosting, gas and electrics, maybe you have a specific space that you rent out, like a little studio, and also platforms like Shopify and Etsy take a cut. So really thinking about all of these different components will help you be more robust in how you price your candles. And it's always better to kind of start off with a more realistic price than trying to increase your prices as time goes on, because you don't want to disgruntle your customers. So with all of the scary costs that are associated, you may be thinking, is it worth it? And the short answer is yes, if you do it right. If you're just casually making candles and you're selling a few here and there and you're not relying your lifestyle on it, sure, it's, you know, it doesn't really make a difference to you. But if you're looking to make this your like full-time job, you definitely need to go in with a strategy and make sure that you're like really looking at the finances like on a day-to-day basis. This is something that I learned the hard way. I spent so much money, more money than I was anticipating when I first started out my business. And these all came unexpectedly. And you know, it's a scary situation when you're investing so much and you don't really know if it's going to pay out. But I think I didn't have a strategy. I was just spending and like trying, rather than like going in with a specific strategy based on learned experience from other businesses. So you may be wondering, after all of these costs, like it's very cash intensive, I would say. Like, yes, it's easy to start your candle business, but if you want to go big, there's definitely a lot of cash intensity that you would need to go and be a big business. But you may be wondering, can you actually make money from it? And I would say yes, you can, but you definitely need a strategy. You need to think about your branding, the storytelling, and how you're making your customer feel. Your customer is your key person, and making them feel special and, you know, everything about them is so important. So if you're just starting out, I would definitely start thinking about who's your ideal customer. How can you show them that your brand is for them? What makes you unique? And I think like when I first started out, I was like, oh, that's just kind of like a bit of a faffy activity. But really it made me very centered and like tunnel vision to be like, this is my customer. How am I making them the center point? How am I like appealing to them? What is it that they like? What are adjacent activities that they enjoy? So really thinking about that will then set you up in a way that, you know, your customers like screaming to buy your product, because it's just, they know it's for them. They're like so excited. Have you ever felt like that when you've bought a product from somewhere? Like you would know that you like can't stop thinking about it. So how can you be that for your customer? So those are my thoughts on whether you can or cannot make money from a candle business. It's definitely possible. It's not easy. I would say it's not a get rich quick scheme. You definitely have to put in the work. So keep that in mind. And you know, if you're like actually open to doing that, because not everybody is, and that's fine. It can definitely feel quite isolating and lonely if you're the only person in the business and you're trying to make it work. So I definitely understand that. And I've seen a lot of businesses close down in the last few years, especially like, you know, there was a big rush of people during COVID, and then I think maybe 2023 onwards, it's been like an exodus of businesses closing, and that's because they've not taken key considerations of, you know, how to grow the business. It's really been like, I'm gonna start a business, this is really exciting, and everybody's like really supporting me. But then as time goes on, you know, you become maybe not as, like, people aren't as excited. So another part of it is thinking about your new product development that keeps people engaged. But again, by having new product development, that also costs money. So it's just something to think about. If you have a candle business, how is it going? Are you finding that you're making sales? Now that I've been speaking on for quite some time, I'd love to hear from you. Have you thought about selling candles? Does this video help put a bit of perspective into what you need to consider if you want to grow your business? I'd love to hear what you're thinking. Please drop a comment in the comment section below. Until next time, bye.